What is going on, guys? Grave here. Today I'll talk about the community update we received from DICE and EA, talking about all the changes and things they're looking into doing for Battlefield 6 on launch. Now, this is the open beta debrief. This is going to be a bit longer video than normal. They covered a lot of stuff here, so let's go ahead and hop right into it. First of all, they talked about players and the player stats, this being the most players in BF beta history. Of course, it looks like we're going to have a really good Battlefield game this year, and it looks like a lot of people are really excited to play it. So let's talk about the first thing. When it comes to weapons, they kind of made it a few changes here to weapons in general, and also a change to the shotgun. They're talking about targeting adjustments to deliver a more consistent and rewarding gunplay experience for recoil. This includes a general pass on recoil and tap fire characteristics across all weapons, further emphasizing their unique feel and improving range, with also making changes to encourage more controlled tap firing and burst firing, rewarding precision and weapon mastery. So in other words, you're going to see a bit more recoil to the weapons inside of Battlefield 6 once the beta launches. Now, I don't expect it to be anything too crazy. They're still going to want to make it fun to use these weapons. They still want you to be able to go in, get kills, and things like that. But at the same time, they don't want everything to be laser beams. So overall, they're going to reward you if you tap fire or burst fire these weapons, pretty much like you've always done inside of a Battlefield game. If you're holding that trigger down, you're not going to be as accurate. But if you're tap firing and burst firing, you're going to have a lot more success in getting kills. Additionally, the shotgun now requires more pellets to secure a kill. We will not know how much of an effect this has. That shotgun was really, really strong. And of course, at really close ranges, I'm kind of curious how this is going to work at a distance. Some people were running scopes and things pretty much, and it was like a sniper rifle. So we'll have to wait and see. This should be a good start. There still may be more adjustments to the shotgun once the game launches. Of course, we all kind of can expect weapon nerfs and buffs and adjustments pretty much throughout the entire lifespan of Battlefield 6. They're also investigating time to kill and time to death experiences, and they will share an update, of course, if they make any changes in those areas. So right now, they're just investigating them. They have not made any changes to time to kill or time to death. When it comes to movement mechanics, they want to create a more balanced and traditional Battlefield experience. Momentum, especially horizontal speed carried from a slide into a jump, has been reduced. There is now a greater penalty for consecutive jumps, which lowers jump height when jumps are spammed. So if you're jump shotting, it's not going to be as good as it was in the beta. Also, firing while jumping or sliding will result in increased inaccuracy. These changes are designed to make sliding and jumping more situational, so they're no longer ideal options for engaging gunfights, and will contribute to gameplay pace that rewards skillful movement without becoming too fast or unpredictable. So they're toning down that jump shot, they're toning down the jump slide shot, they're toning down the slide shot just in general. They were still a bit inaccurate at times during the beta, but of course a lot of people were taking advantage of jump shots, taking advantage of slide shots, slide jump shots, and they're trying to tone the movement down just a bit within that area, but not change the movement overall. So it looks like they've left the base movement like it is, but the slide jump shots and everything like that have been toned down, and also the bunny hopping. Another thing would be parachute physics. They have been retuned with a reduction in initial acceleration when opening the parachute. That was something that definitely needed to be done as well. You opened up a parachute. I'm sure most of you did that during the beta, and it felt like you were going 100 miles an hour. It was insane. You couldn't really control it. You were just moving at crazy speed. So that has been reduced and kind of back to your normal idea of what a parachute works like inside of Battlefield. So you have a bit more control of your movement. Now, when it comes to maps, they've observed some players finding a way to reach rooftops and venture out of bounds. And I talked about this a few days ago in a video. This gameplay is not intended for these maps, and an upcoming ladder for the Assault class is also not intended to design to access those type of areas. They're actively working on adjustments to prevent unintended access and ensure gameplay stays within the intended boundaries. So I talked about this, like I said, a few days ago, where they're going to fix that, not allowing you to get on those roofs. I'm not going to sure if they're going to make it out of bounds or what exactly they're going to do there. We'll have to wait and see, but that is going to be something that is fixed once the game launches. They've also heard strong feedback from players excited by the larger scale maps that Battlefield has to offer. While the open beta featured smaller, more fast-paced maps, larger scale maps are already part of our launch package, delivering action-packed gameplay and memorable, unique moments for every player. As part of the upcoming Battlefield Labs testing, they will now be testing the 2 multiplayer maps, one set in, of course, Murak Valley. I probably butchered that, but hopefully not. And also the other remake of a fan favorite Battlefield 3 map, Operation Firestorm. These 2 maps include the full complement of vehicles like Liberation Peak, along with a more vast combat space. Now, I'm kind of curious about one thing they did say there, the full complement of vehicles like Liberation Peak. And I did not really feel like Liberation Peak had the full complement of Battlefield vehicles. Most big, large maps had 2 jets, 2 choppers, maybe even 3 choppers if you throw the little bird in there. Also multiple tanks, multiple transport vehicles. I'm wondering if that is kind of how they've toned it down, that every large map's only going to have 1 jet now. I would assume that would not be the case, but the Liberation Peak vehicle situation, I was assuming was made like that on purpose, because that is still a fairly small map. I would call it a medium, smallish map. They call it medium. I don't think it's really medium. I think it's a little smaller than medium, but it's not small. And I felt like that there was a little bit of leeway there for jets and helicopters, but it's still at the same time, it felt like the map was too small for aerial vehicles, for planes and choppers. So I'm wondering if that is why, of course, you only had 1 on each side, and if the larger maps are going to have multiples. I would guess so. I'm assuming it's going to be like older Battlefield titles. We'll have to wait and see. But they did address that, and of course, they're going to be testing those 2 large maps inside of Battlefield Labs, and I'm sure probably for the next couple months until the game releases. When it comes to Rush, the conversation we observed wasn't just about player count, but also about how maps play and the tactical experience they offer. Rush is a mode with deep roots inside of the game, of course, originally known as Gold Rush in Bad Company, where matches typically range from 12v12 to 16v16. Many of us remember this as a golden era of Rush, and it continues to inspire our approach today. We've experimented with larger player counts over the years, such as 64 and even 128 player version. While these matches created intense, fast-paced moments, they also led to issues: overwhelming defense, stalled front lines, and too many games ending in the first sector. Rush is especially sensitive to higher player counts due to the tactical and strategic requirements when a player tries to arm the MCOM while more than 20 opponents are defending. For those who enjoy large-scale Rush, Portal will allow us to experiment with different player counts. But as of right now, they are not going to change the player count in Rush. They're going to leave it at 12v12. I was really hoping they would just go up to 16v16. That was kind of where I thought the sweet spot would be. I thought 20 or 24 might have been too much. Maybe, to me, if they opened the map up more and took away some of the out-of-bounds areas, they shrunk the map down even more. For Rush, I felt like that is kind of what a lot of people didn't like, and one thing I didn't like personally. I don't think 12v12 was absolutely awful, but I felt like the map was just too condensed. So if they open up the maps a bit more, change the out-of-bounds areas, 12v12 or 16v16 are probably pretty good. But one thing they did mention here was talking about Bad Company and how that was the golden era of Rush. Those maps were really designed for Rush. Where now all of these maps are designed for all the different game modes they have. They don't just have Conquest and Rush. They have Conquest, Rush, Breakthrough, Domination. You have, I was about to say Hardpoint, which it does remind me a lot of Hardpoint from Call of Duty, but King of the Hill, Team Deathmatch, Squad Team Deathmatch. You're trying to fit all those different game modes on maps that may not really tailor to all of those different game modes. Where Bad Company and Bad Company 2, a lot of the maps in those games, and Rush was great, was really made just for Rush. So we'll have to wait and see how some of these maps play out. They're going to be better, some that are better than others, in my opinion, once the game launches. Of course, they also talked about Breakthrough. It says it's designed to accommodate higher player counts of up to 64 players, and that's where the mode really shines. Using win-loss data from the open beta, they're continuing to make map-by-map balance adjustments towards our goal of a 50-50 win ratio for both attackers and defenders. So hopefully they're going to go in and adjust something. I don't know if they'll have time to move bomb sites before the game launches, but I'm assuming that's something that probably will happen, especially on Liberation Peak, on that first bomb site. once the game launches. It may come out like it was in the beta, but I'm assuming that first site's going to get adjusted somehow, because attacking is pretty rough on there. Some people can get past it, but even on Liberation Peak, all the way to the last breakpoint area, the last area that you have to capture, it is hard to break through some of that defense there when you have 32 people pretty much able to just snipe you, or having a really tall height advantage on you, and you're just pretty much walking into them nonstop. So that, I'm assuming, probably will get adjusted down the line. I'm not sure if we'll see any area, or not really bomb is what I said, but just area adjustments in general for breakthrough before launch. But I'm thinking that's going to be something they're looking to do maybe after launch. Hopefully they can get it done before, but I'm not going to count on it. When it comes to player counts, it says there was some confusion around the number of players in different games, so they wanted to take a moment to clarify the current direction for how these games are determined. Rather than locking maps and modes to a fixed player count, their philosophy is to adapt the best fit kind of experience. This may vary map by map or evolve over time with player feedback. For example, at launch, some breakthrough layouts will support 48 players, while others will have 64. There was a lot of people talking about this, saying breakthrough only had 24 players, and I was thinking it was because of the map size. I would have assumed that we would see 64 players on the really large maps in breakthrough in Battlefield 6 once the game launches. It's one of the many factors we have adjusted to create the right balance and feel for each scenario. But finding the right balance is an ongoing process as everyone gets familiar with the map size, lanes, and combat spaces. For now, we found that 8v8 provides a solid starting point for small-scale, fast-paced modes like Team Deathmatch, Squad Deathmatch, Domination, and King of the Hill. When it comes to playlist options, they talked about a limited variety of playlist options were created for the open beta to both showcase and test the flexibility of matchmaking system. For details on the playlist adjustments, of course, see their post-open beta weekend 2 playlist options. Playing with both open and closed weapons will continue to be options in Battlefield 6, and we're looking for ways to keep them easily accessible. They've also recognized that some players experience difficulty finding games to complete challenges of capture sectors and breakthrough or rush. It wasn't ideal, and we're actively using feedback and game data to review and improve matchmaking systems with the goal to provide a smoother experience in the future. So really here they're talking about the challenges were kind of a pain because it had to be on offense. I think there's an easy solution to this. Battlefield has had a problem in the past of making some of their challenges something that you have to grind out for hours and hours and hours, because it's either a one side or another kind of thing. You would either have to be on defense or offense to get it completed. And I know a lot of people don't have time to just play for hours and hours every day to get these challenges complete. And if they're this difficult when the game comes out, there'll probably be some kind of pushback from the community about that. The easy solution to me is, like, for example, during the beta, you had to capture so many, zones in rush or breakthrough. Just make it capture or defend this many zones in rush or breakthrough. So if you're on defense, you're still getting points, and if you're on offense, you're still getting points. That's the best way to do this, in my opinion. Also, they talked about keeping the open weapon system for the game. So I'm assuming once the game launches, there's going to be open and closed weapon, conquest, breakthrough, and probably everything available to us, even the new game mode that we have not seen yet. I'm kind of curious if this will split the player base. I don't think it's going to be a big problem to begin with, but I'm curious as the game goes on through its life cycle, let's say 7 or 8 months down the road, maybe a year down the road, if the game has less players than it did right at the start, will this hurt player count in a way of having it split between open and closed weapons? We'll have to see, but I am going to be kind of curious what they're going to do with it going forward and what they decide to do just overall. And it says, of course, reflecting on the open beta and the next step, it says, with the insights gathered during the open beta play sessions, we will be introducing in-game adjustments in upcoming Battlefield Lab events. So stay tuned for progress updates and future opportunities to get involved. And of course, you can join the Battlefield Discord server to talk more Battlefield and share feedback and find squad mates. And it says, lastly, thanks again for joining the Battlefield 6 open beta. Your feedback and participation made it an incredible experience. Now, they have been taking a lot of this feedback and answering a lot of questions and posting a lot of stuff in their Discord. If you're not a member of it, I would highly recommend it. I've been in there seeing a lot of, kind of discussion between the community managers and the community there. Been seeing a lot of discussion on Twitter or on X, Reddit. they're really looking at what the community wants and trying to make a game that the community will enjoy. I think, like I've talked about in the past, EA has gone all in on Battlefield, and I think they really want to make it an enjoyable experience. And it seems like all three teams are trying to do that, and hopefully they will get it as close as they can. And it's never going to be perfect for everyone because everyone's going to want something different, but just in general, I think they can get it pretty close to how everybody wants the game once it launches. And of course, after launch, we'll still see updates and things like that. Anyway, guys, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about all this. I thought it was a pretty interesting kind of read from DICE and EA there to go ahead and talk about some of the stuff they're looking to change and some stuff that they're looking to maybe change in the future. Of course, leave me a comment with your thoughts, and if you liked it, hit the like. If you have not subscribed yet, please do so, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.